This is Ogrodowski of WeAreChange.org here somewhere in Connecticut, and in this video we are going to give you the latest updates about the yellow vest movement that is happening in France. And no, it has not gone away, it has not dampened down, it has only gotten more intense, but we're going to tell you that plus a lot more with, of course, Emily Molly here. She is the mastermind and journalist at Subverse, doing really incredible work there, and she just came back from Paris, France, which she was there for May Day, and also covered a yellow vest protest that happened there. Now, I remember 2 years ago I covered May Day in Paris, and I literally was caught in the middle of Molotov cocktails being thrown between protesters and cops. I was there with a rookie reporter. I remember this person had their phone in the face position, and they were like, she was like, and then she was pointing it at pretty much Antifa's face, which created a problem, a situation. And then this person was kind of shocked, and I had to help them, literally right in the middle, Molotov cocktails flying. How was your May Day experiences? Because I remember that was like one of the most craziest moments of my life, seeing something like that unfold on the French street. I heard a couple of days ago it was even crazier.
Yeah, no, it was really nuts. Actual utter chaos in the streets on May Day, especially. Did have my fair share of run-ins with Black Bloc. I had my camera swiped at a couple times. I had a couple pieces of pavement hit my camera. It creates a weird effect. I've got some videos up so you can check them out on Subverse. But May Day was really interesting because it was the first May Day to coincide with the Yellow Vest movement. So you had thousands of people out on the streets, and a huge amount of them were yellow vests. You have, the May Day usually is labor unions. This time it was also political parties because the EU elections are coming up. So they had a lot of people kind of campaigning, giving out literature and trying to get people to turn out. Because a huge worry right now is that many of the people who are going to be turning out for the EU election are going to be the party that backs Macron and the party that backs Le Pen.
Yeah. There's been a very interesting kind of political shuffling that has been happening in France because of the Yellow Vest movement, which has been predominantly concentrated on getting rid of Macron. It's been one of the main focuses, not the only focus. The Yellow Vest movement, if you've been watching our kind of coverage on it, is very vast, filled with many different political people in there. But I've read that Macron has less support than Le Pen, who he lost to the election with. So this paints a very weird kind of political dichotomy there that's going to unfold that I was talking to you about, and you were like, this is probably going to lead and cause more violence. And it's already violent. Like, people don't understand. People think some special people dressing up in medieval costumes standing up against each other is crazy. You have no idea the level of insanity unfolding in Europe and the history of insanity unfolding in Europe in the streets there. I mean, I was watching your Twitter video, and you're like, oh, this is what happens when the cinder block hits your camera. The camera, he's like, this does a cool effect. I remember seeing that. But what is your kind of projections? Because then, after May Day, which was, I believe, Wednesday, there was the Yellow Vest. It was kind of tempered, but again, everyone was kind of exhausted. It was also raining. So what's your kind of projections on these kind of movements moving forward?
So in Paris especially, ever since May Day, it's been a lot more tame, which is good because especially right after May Day, there were a lot of yellow vests who kind of wanted to make the point that we are not all Black Bloc. A lot of us are pacifists. A lot of us don't condemn the violence. We understand that sometimes a little bit of violence will make our points to the police, to the government, and the government has made concessions from the violence. I wouldn't say it's directly from the violence, but showing that they are willing to keep going out week after week and fight for those things. But most of the violence is protesters against police. And I am curious to see what happens, because right now it's people from all across the political spectrum in France. But with the EU elections, I'm not sure if that's going to change, because you have to consider, are these groups anti-Macron enough that they would be okay with seeing a Le Pen-backed party in place? I don't think that's the case, especially for the far left or the moderately left groups.
And holy cow, have things changed in Paris? I mean, we were there for the elections, and there was people crying, celebrating, huge celebratory protests that Macron was elected over Le Pen, and Le Pen was bad and evil, and all of that seems to have a 180-degree total turn in the opposite direction, with now just utter chaos because of Macron. Now, Macron tried to do his dialogue with the nation. He conceded on some issues for the yellow vests, but he hasn't been able to get rid of them. He hasn't been able to shake them at all. So the way that this is going to unfold, it's going to unfold soon. You're going to be there on the ground. I'm going to do my best to be there on the ground, depending if it conflicts with Bilderberg or not, or other things that I have to cover. But you're definitely going to be there. You've been doing really good reporting on the ground there. Also being there on May Day, of course. I was like, holy cow, I had a whole like tooth infection, and I'm like, I'm pain and like huge surgery. I'm like, there's no way I could be man enough, or not man enough. That's a mansplaining term. Excuse me. Pardon me here. There's no way I could be tough enough to handle the exhausting amount of work that it takes to kind of be out there into the streets. But you were down there, and it was pretty crazy. With the election, when is it exactly coming up? And what do you see the future of? Because I kind of see this movement getting more popular now, but then kind of simmering off in August, but then coming back full kind of roar and actually having some kind of major political difference in late September, early October. That's my personal kind of assessment on it. What's yours?
Well, it's a very complex movement, and the more that I talk to people about it, the more questions I have. So the elections are happening, depending on the region, over, I believe, 3 days, or a few days over the end of May. So I don't know what to expect. It's going to be very interesting, and one of the sort of linchpins of this movement is that everyone has been, part of this one movement despite political disagreements. So I'm curious if that's going to be able to hold up through the EU elections, or if people even care enough. There is a sort of expectation that right-wing and populist groups are going to be turning out more than usual. So I'm curious, and I'm going to try to be there. And like any support that, if you want to see this kind of work done, support our work, support our channels, because you don't see a whole lot of this on mainstream outlets. You see the occasional article written here and there, but there's really not a whole lot of people who are talking to people on the ground. And I've been doing my best to learn French, and I've been able to speak to some people there. I've been lucky getting a couple people who can speak English decently well, but I am planning to try to keep getting more of the people's messages out.
Yeah, I literally, I'm like, parlez-vous français? No, I just literally put a sign on my back. It just said, just speak to me in English, please. We want to know what's going on here. Got an interesting reaction, of course, from that. But Emily's right. If it's not for you guys, no one's going to see this content. The algorithm has shifted tremendously to support supposed authoritative voices. And last we kind of heard the authoritative voices actually talk about the Yellow Vest movement was specifically close to the relation of the Notre Dame fire. So the Notre Dame fire happened, and then there was still some journalists from the United States who were like, yeah, we'll just stay a couple extra days and watch what happens with the Yellow Vest. And then we saw, at least I did, a kind of record Yellow Vest coverage, kind of based on, in my opinion, a coincidence that the Notre Dame fire happened because they were there. Yeah. And then they're like, okay, well, there's still crazy riots happening here. Let's talk about it. But overall, there's been, I would say, largely a disservice to this movement. I would say there's been a lot of underreporting and unfair reporting with the Yellow Vest movement because, again, it is such convoluted, such not an easy thing to report on. It's not just left or right. This has bridged the left-right divide. This has brought the far left and the far right together in some instances, and there's even other instances where the far left and the far right fight each other. So that's my take on it, and there's no way to actually report on it to what the mainstream media wants to do, because the mainstream media just kind of wants to pinpoint at a villain and be like, this is good and this is bad, and simplify things. This thing is not simple. This thing's very complicated. It's unfolding, and it's only going to get more convoluted and more complicated with these next European elections. Emily, Molly, what else do you have to say, and where can people find your work?
Well, I will say that there has been a lot of weird narratives about this being either Russian infiltrated, Russian backed, far right infiltrated, or and it's really bullshit, because if you actually listen to the people, the thousands of people across France who go out every week after week, and you can see on their vests, a lot of them will mark how many weeks they've been out there. There have been people out there since the beginning. And if you really think these people are backed by Russia, that's absolutely insane, and you're really insulting what they're standing for. So I would just say, like, check out our work on Subverse. We're going to be doing our best to bring you more on the ground reporting. We're really working hard at expanding, and we're going to have a lot coming in the next few months. And you can follow that at youtube.com/subverse videos. We're also on Minds at minds.com/subverse, and you can follow me on Minds at minds.com/momesmolly, MOMESMOLLI. And yeah, just keep up with our work. We've got a lot of really cool stuff planned.
Yep, definitely go check out Emily. Really good, amazing work. Definitely also on Twitter. I'm going to be retweeting, probably going to be doing more work on Minds. But yeah, guys, you guys are more important than ever when it comes to letting alternative, important, independent information and media to go out there. So I want to thank you guys for allowing this video to be possible and future videos to be possible as well. Stay tuned for more, most likely for more riot coverage and insanity for myself and also Emily and Molly. Thank you again so much for watching. Stay tuned for more here on wearechange.org.